As I welcome NHL Network insider Eliotte Friedman into the mix here on NHL Now. Big news day yesterday. I'll ask you about the deal for Victor Arvidsson. He goes out to the LA Kings. How long do you think that had been in the works, and what can you tell us about it?
It was. Let me just catch my tongue first. it had been in the work. It had been in the work for a little bit of time. David Poyle did a local interview yesterday on their ESPN station there, 102.5, and I'd heard at the end of the season, not long after Nashville's season finished, that Arvidsson had either asked for a trade or made it clear that he was willing to move on. And, Poyle made that pretty clear in this conversation yesterday that he was unhappy with his situation there, and they weren't happy with his season. And I think pretty quickly after Nashville was done that there were some conversations with teams around the league about his availability. When I put out my notes this week that I heard his name out there, I didn't think it would be that quick. But if you've seen the Kings, it makes a lot of sense. Drew Doughty came right out and said he expects them to have some new additions this year, and that's exactly what LA is looking for, a hard middle six player and potentially top line player, and that's what Arvidsson can be. He's been hurt a lot. I understand that there was I don't know if I want to say significant, Jackie, but I think there was a pretty thorough check of the medicals before this one got done, so I think that was the last holdup before getting traded.
Elliot, earlier in the week, you reported that the Blackhawks are shopping Duncan Keith. I mean, that's big news. What's the latest on those talks?
Yeah, Duncan Keith went to the Blackhawks and said, I'm getting a little bit of dispute about how this all kind of started, but the bottom line is that Duncan Keith has a young son who lives in Penticton, BC, and he wants to spend more time around him, which I think anybody would understand. And he has a no-move clause. He has control, but there is a willingness to go to either the Pacific Northwest or to Western Canada. Now, I had heard Seattle had been pretty involved in this, that they were very interested in Keith, potentially could be the first captain of the team, and what a great starting pole he would be for the Kraken. But now I'm hearing a lot of Edmonton. I think there's a chance we could see something get done here. The Oilers are looking for another left-hand shot D, especially with Darnell Nurse. I don't think Keith would have to play as many minutes as he's played in the last few years, but he'd still be a big part of their blue line. So I think the Oilers and the Blackhawks are making a run at seeing if they can do this.
We talk about leadership so much. Whoever acquires Duncan Keith is going to get a lot of that. We can't talk trades without talking about Jack Eichel. What is the latest installment in this saga between Jack Eichel and the Sabres? Because a couple of days ago, we heard reports that they were working towards a resolution. It did not indicate a resolution to what, whether it's surgery, whether it's a deal. What are you hearing on the Jack Eichel front?
Well, Jackie, the last time I really looked into that, which was about a week and a half ago, I kind of got the same answer. So I think what Buffalo and Jack Eichel's representatives have said is there was too much heat on this in public, so we're going to tone it down. And I think that's kind of their answer right now. We're working towards a resolution, and we're going to get there. I think a lot of other teams who are interested have been doing a lot of research on what the kind of thing that Eichel has proposed. I think this is going to result in a trade. The one thing I think we're kind of looking at here is if Eichel has to get any kind of longer-term surgery or something that needs a longer recovery, we're starting to go into next season. So I think that's when they say that they're working towards a resolution, I think there's an understanding here that if another team trades for Eichel, they want to know that he's going to be ready to play at the start of next year. So I think that's why the two sides are trying to move this along quicker. But Buffalo's ask has been enormous, and there have definitely been some teams that have refused to even think about paying it.
Another big-name player looks like he might be on the trade market, and that's Seth Jones of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He has mentioned that he would like to test free agency next summer. I think if you're the Blue Jackets in that circumstance, you probably have to think about moving him now. What's the latest there?
Well, I think it's most likely. I can always the shocker could happen that it doesn't get done, but I think it's most likely he does move, EJ. One of the things about this whole Duncan Keith and Edmonton situation is that Seth's brother Caleb plays in Edmonton, and there's a growing conspiracy theory around the National Hockey League that the Blackhawks would like to get their hands on Caleb Jones because it would be easier to reunite the brothers that way. And I do think that Chicago is one of the teams that Seth Jones has some interest in long term. I think, I've mentioned several times, I think Philadelphia has been pretty aggressive, but they want to know that Seth will sign long term before they commit to him. I don't know how many teams are like, I've wondered if Colorado would consider 1 year of Seth Jones, for example, but I think the majority of teams, EJ, would like to know that he's going to stay long term before they commit to what Columbus wants to do in a deal.
Well, lots of speculation going on around the National Hockey League this week. That will continue as we approach the expansion draft, the actual draft, and of course we've got the Stanley Cup Final going on, Game 3 here tonight. I can't let you walk away without a prediction. And in fairness, EJ, this is more like Joker purple than it is Bergevin red, I would think.
Yes.
Right? That's an accurate assessment.
It is true, Jackie. The first time I wore this suit, this is the second time I've worn it, and the first time I wore it, I got a lot of the Joker memes.
Okay,
I was getting a lot of those.
Spot on.
All of them, too. Cesar Romero, Heath Ledger. The most recent one is Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix. I got everyone.
NHL Network insider Eliotte Friedman, a.k.a. the NHL Joker? I don't know. We call you that.
That's good.